This is the next video about programming the mind. We know that programming the mind is not easy because we have all been corrupted by the brain, and so the only thing we can do is understand the brain and the mind together. So, what does the brain do, and what does the mind do? So, let's begin by saying that the brain. Let's focus on the brain for now and say precisely what the functions of the brain can be. The brain is very electrical. So the function of the brain is to be very electrical. And so therefore, we are looking at the mind, which has a function of being very magnetic because it's abstract. So the brain has tremendous work in terms of knowing exactly what it can do to link with the mind. That's the reason why Barack, who wants to fund scientists in mapping the brain, can really face a very difficult time trying to understand what these scientists come up with. Certainly, it's going to be very easy to make people's brains to become evil because of the fact that it's always easy to make anything that deals with particles to be able to do something that is evil. The brain, as we said, is electrical, and that's what you are seeing here. Anything electrical is enclosed. So, like electricity in your home is enclosed in a wire that comes to your home. So you get electricity at home. And these wires are wrapped around with rubber or plastic bands. And that's the same way your brain is. Your brain is confined in a skull in which there is neurons. The neurons go from one cell to another. And so your brain is trapped, the neurons are trapped, just like the electrical system you have at home. Everything is trapped. It goes from point A to point B. And that's the same thing the neurons in your brain do. They go from point A to point B. So it's very easy to map the brain because you always go from one area to another. So if the area you want to go to is full of evil, then certainly you can always program the brain to just see evil. It doesn't see any good. And that's not what we want. There is too much evil in the world now that we want to eradicate the evil and be able to have everything in a truthful manner. And so the mind is very important because the mind, which is magnetic, is able to deal with waves. So as you can see here, the Eye of Horus was put together by Africans. The Eye of Horus for thousands of years was what Africans believed was the connection between the brain and the mind. So Africans were able to therefore link the brain and the mind as a unit. So This connection between the two is what has always been in the African system of thinking and doing things that are complex. So what the brain does is work with the senses. That's the reason why you focus on your senses. As you focus on the senses, you are able to have that ability to look at a sense organ and see whether it's working right or not. For instance, if you continue to smell a particular kind of diet, food, I would say, you begin to indulge yourself in that particular food. And so sooner or later, you get to that point when you really become overweight. And now people are overweight because they indulge themselves too much. Indulging means you focus on one thing over and over and over. You keep focusing on the same thing. And that particular focus is electrical. And so it's the brain. The brain makes you very emotional towards what is you like. So if you like, McDonald's, you just keep focusing on McDonald's all the time. And so McDonald's becomes the food that you like. But then it makes you begin to accumulate weight. And of course, there is no nutrition really that can help you become healthy. So you have many problems by just focusing on things. So the brain, which deals with the senses, allows you to focus too much on things. And as you focus, you tend to lose control because of the emotions that go with focus. And therefore, that's the reason why the mind is always necessary to be with you when you do anything. In terms of the senses, there are five senses: smell, sight, sound, which is all in the eye of Huru. These senses are connected to the mind, but they are connected by number three, which you can see in the diagram. Number three means green, is green, which means the connection between the pineal gland and the brain. So the pineal gland connects you directly to the mind. So the mind is able to see all the sensations: smell, sight, sound, taste, and touch. The pineal gland connects all these things to the mind. And when they are connected to the mind sees everything that you do. Even though the mind is abstract, it does not have any physical ability to control what is happening with the senses. Only the brain does that, because the brain gets particles, and particles come from the cells that are associated with these senses. But what the cells do, they also send waves about the senses that are there to the mind. So the mind receives the waves, and the mind works with the waves to actually be able to see exactly what is happening with each sense organ. And so, although the mind is active in terms of bringing everything to memory, the cells also are active in sending everything towards the mind in terms of waves. So you have a two-way traffic. One is to memory, and the other is to mind. So you have particles and waves. So to program the brain, you have to have particles programmed and waves also programmed. But the white man is not going to be able to program waves because the waves are abstract and they cannot be programmed at all. So what happens, therefore, with Obama's mapping the brain is not going to be successful at all because these people, from the time of the Greeks, in fact, the Greeks destroyed the ability to understand what they were teaching. Africans had a two-way of teaching. One way was to acquire knowledge, and the other way was to acquire understanding. So when the Greeks overthrew the African civilization, what they did was only attract knowledge towards students and don't worry about understanding. So the same thing has come down to us now, over 2,000 years. The white man only knows about knowledge, but he doesn't know anything about understanding. And so mapping the brain is going to be done by knowledge alone. And that's no good at all because Africans had to use the mind and as well as the brain in order to teach. That's the way we taught in Kemet. In Kemet, we continued to make everything appear with knowledge and understanding. So with that conclusion, we were able to do many things. Just imagine how we built pyramids. Pyramids were built by granite stones that up to today they don't have any cranes to lift those rocks because they weighed over 100 tons, and there is no crane today to lift those rocks up. So how did Africans bring those rocks hundreds of miles to Kanak in Kemet to build the pyramids? You know, that's the reason why I'm saying that something has to be understood before the attempt to go through the process of mapping the brain is taken into consideration. You must understand that many difficult things have happened in the past. So how did those things happen? How did Africans come up with calculus, trigonometry, geometry? How did that happen? Well, it happened because Africans looked at a supernova that was happening in the universe. It was three African women invented calculus, trigonometry, and geometry. So we know that everything started from Africa. Why are we now corrupting the human brain because of the Caucasian? No, you have to understand the history. of what happened in the past and be able to work from that. Like we say, everything that deals with the mind has a past, a present, and a future. So what is the future for mapping the brain? Well, the brain, as we know, that deals solely with the senses, deals with the present. But the mind has that ability to deal with the past, the present, and the future. That's the reason why we have the two brains on the video. We have the right brain on the right side that deals with emotional thinking. So what is happening now is programming the brain, mapping the brain to give us only emotional thoughts. Well, there are other thoughts that occur, which are very critical. You know, it allows you to look at things your own way and make conclusions depending upon the goodness or the truth that is in you. That's what the left brain does. The left brain allows you to look at things very critically. That's why it is black. It is dark. Everything that happens, such as creativity, comes to you through the left brain. It's dark. Everything that is good comes to you through the darkness of the universe. In other words, what you have in the brain, the left brain and the right brain, is the duality that happens in the universe. Remember, many hundreds of years ago, Europe said that the universe was flat. Well, it was an African, Dogon, that went to Rome, was kidnapped and taken to Rome, that told Europeans that no, if Europe had day and night, the universe was never flat, rather it was in a circular form. So the same thing is happening now. We are again approaching that same attitude in which we are looking at the brain as if it's all emotional. Well, what happens to the critical thoughts that comes from the left brain? That is what is going to be over reading, and everything is going to be emotional, because the right brain only looks at things from an emotional point, and the left brain looks at things from a very creative point of view. Now, when the two brains come together in the couple's callosum, you have what will eventually become joy, because the left brain is not going to take the emotions, and the right brain is ill-equipped. The right brain is not going to give you critical thoughts. But a marriage between the two brain hemispheres allows you to have joy. Joy in you gives you much, much more pleasure than the critical thoughts, than the emotional thoughts that you have. So for us to really be satisfied with everything we do, we have to look at things differently. This is a continuation of how to program the mind. So if you are interested in programming your own mind to see the truth, please contact us, and we shall be able to help you. Nama.